Wikipedia vandalism was always something that I found weirdly fascinating. When I was a dumb teenager, something I loved to do was go onto Google Images and look up the phrase funny Wikipedia vandalism. There's just so many wacky internet stories that you could bring up in relation to the topic. Gee, if only there was some wacky internet stories YouTuber who could talk about one of them. The article we're focusing on today is the list of marine biologists, which is clearly the most riveting of topics. Also, for the people like me who somehow notice the smallest of details in YouTube videos, yes, this list does in fact include the leader of a fascist regime that's responsible for some of the most brutal war crimes in human history. Well anyways, you'd be forgiven for not paying this article any mind. It was even considered for deletion at one point because it was just that minor. I mean, the article doesn't even have a fancy table thing that other Wikipedia lists have. What the fuck? It truly seemed like the list of marine biologists was on track to become forgotten amongst a sea of millions of other Wikipedia articles. But then, JoJo fans happened. You see, there's a character named Jotaro Kujo. Kind of an obscure character, just a poster boy of the series, not a big deal or anything, you know? He first appears as the main character of Part 3, where he's in his edgy delinquent phase, but when he appears again in Part 4, he comes back older and more mature. And during the events of that part, he's actually working on his doctorate so he can become a marine biologist. It's actually a really cool character detail that ties into how Araki sees JoJo as a celebration of humanity, where someone who seems bad on the surface can actually be a good person deep down. But of course, since this is JoJo, Jotaro's status as a marine biologist became the subject of a whole host of memes, which range in quality. Sometimes you have legitimately creative and or talented ones, and other times you have low effort shock value. So with JoJo fans searching for a marine biologist related meme material, it shouldn't come as a surprise that they'd eventually come across Wikipedia's list of marine biologists. Except, not really. The very first edit that put Jotaro's name in the article was in June of 2009, which predates both the David Production adaptation and the meme culture that spun from it. Pre-David Production JoJo fanworks are always so fascinating to me because of the weird primordial soup of internet culture they exist in. They're not tainted by modern day cynicism, they just feel really genuine. Exactly 1 month later, on July 19, 2009, the edit was discovered and subsequently removed, so things returned to normal. For 2 months, that is. In September, Jotaro Kujo was quickly edited back into the article, and in the same exact place, no less. The next series of edits to this article would be in November 6, 2009, where another user would engage in acts of vandalism that were completely separate from the prior ones, most notably adding some leader of some former British colony to the list. Interestingly enough, while these edits were quickly reverted, the editor would leave Jotaro Kujo up, seemingly unaware of the fact that he wasn't a real marine biologist. And on the same day, another user would engage in more vandalism.
I'm Aquaman, but you can call me handsome guy.
And this edit would also be reversed, with Jotaro Kujo somehow still there. It truly was a sad day for fans of the critically acclaimed video game Aquaman Battle for Atlantis. But unfortunately for Jotaro, his luck would eventually run out. On November 11th, 2009, he would be erased from the list of marine biologists. Then, 5 days later, he would go back up. February 9, 2010, down. April 21, 2010, up again. Same day, down again. April 25, 2010, up. March 16th, 2011, down again after 10 months. Star Wars Day 2012, up again after a full year and then removed again right before the day ended. September 17th, 2012. Okay, so this has nothing to do with the Jotaro edits, but someone on the article edited John Murray to be Bill Murray, and I thought that was kind of funny. From there, several small clashes would continue to occur where someone would edit Jotaro in and then watch their hard work get completely eviscerated the very next day. In September of 2013, things began to escalate. One JoJo fan would edit Jotaro Kujo into the article as usual, and one Wikipedia editor would erase him as usual. Then, more JoJo fans joined in, and that Wikipedia editor would have to fend off all of them over the course of the month. There's this one block of edits on the revision history page that's just the same 81 words being repeatedly added and deleted, and it's brutal. However, the worst was yet to come, because this war would reach its absolute boiling point on June 23rd, 2014. You see, by this point, the David Productions adaptation of Part 3 had been airing for quite some time, so there were even more people who knew about Jotaro Kujo, and more willing participants in the Jotaro Kujo wars as a result. One of these fans was an individual who I would like to call the final boss of JoJo fans. This fan would start off as an ordinary JoJo fan, adding Jotaro to the article and specifying that he killed a shark stand once. Side note that only I'm enough of a loser to care about, but he did not actually kill a shark stand. He killed a regular shark and then a stand that does not look like a shark at all. 0 out of 10, fake fan, L+ ratio, Narantia is now the real marine biologist. As you might have guessed, this edit would quickly get removed. It was then that the JoJo fan behind this edit completely succumbed to rage and achieved their ultimate form. The Wikipedia editors had no clue what ultimate attack was in store for them. The final boss of JoJo fans went into the article and edited the phrase, Jotaro Kujo, he killed a shark stand once, in between each and every marine biologist in the article. In additional edits, they would add further pieces of vandalism, including one about another JoJo character, Dio Brando. Of course, this would not fly with Wikipedia editors. ClueBot-NG, a bot specifically designed to revert vandalism, noticed the constant slew of edits and deleted over 3,000 characters, reverting the article back to its former state. But this wasn't the end of the clash, as many more JoJo fans would show up. Between the Wikipedia editors, the final boss of JoJo fans, and the fellow fans that showed up to aid their strongest warriors, there were a total of 35 edits within a single day. The editors were beaten down and running out of energy. In a fit of frustration, one editor typed out,
"This article is for non-fictional people. Stop being idiots, JoJo fandom. Also, Ed Turu to All-Star Brawl, baby."
It seemed like at any moment all hope could be lost for the editors. But one editor rose back up and refused to give in to the threat posed by JoJo fans. They deleted Jotaro from the page once again and unleashed their own ultimate weapon, protecting the article. You see, most of the users editing Jotaro into the article were IP users. In other words, they did not actually create an account and were identifiable only by their IP address. So by protecting the article and limiting it to auto-confirm users, the editors effortlessly quashed any and all resistance. If JoJo fans really wanted their edits to be added to the article, they would have to ask the mods.
Semi-protected edit request on July 9th, 2014. Jotaro Kujo, born 1970, Japanese marine biologist.
Not done. He's already in list of fictional scientists and engineers. Nice try.
Unfortunately, this ability had a glaring weakness. It was temporary, so the article would enter a vicious cycle of getting protection status, having said status run out, and then immediately having to get protected again due to JoJo fans lacking any semblance of self-control. As the article repeatedly obtained protection status again, the term for said status kept increasing in length. What started as 3 days grew into 2 weeks, then 1 month, then 3 months, and finally, a full year. When this year-long turn ended in January of 2016, there was some semblance of peace, but less than 2 months later, JoJo fans would return to their usual ways. And since the actual editors weren't used to this type of vandalism anymore, they didn't even notice Jotaro's presence for a full week. When the editors saw the vandalism, they broke out into an all-too-familiar clash with JoJo fans for 2 days, until eventually extending semi-protection to 3 years. That should be the end of things, the editors thought, right? Wrong! On January 14, 2017, a now defunct account with the handle Giorno Giovanna would once again try to put Jotaro's name in the article. Their edit was quickly reverted back to normal, so it didn't mean much, but it was a sign of things to come. By this point in time, the anime adaptations of parts 3 and 4 had both been completed, which means that not only are there more JoJo fans, but there are more JoJo fans who know the joke of Jotaro being a marine biologist. So it was inevitable that resistance to the Wikipedia editors would grow, and the JoJo fans found the perfect opportunity to attack the Wikipedia editors. The article's talk page didn't require an actual account, so JoJo fans could beg the mods to add Jotaro to the page, and maybe after enough times they'll do it. They didn't do it. But one JoJo fan had a clever solution. They would replace the entire text of the talk page with Jotaro's signature stand cry. That should convince the editors to add Jotaro back to the article. No, it didn't. After enough time dealing with stubborn JoJo fans on the talk page, the editors added a warning atop of the page to make their position clear.
Jotaro Kujo is fictional and not eligible for this list. Any request to add Kujo will be declined.
Sometime after this reminder, one editor tried to prevent spam by adding a fictional marine biologist section to the article that was literally just Jotaro. But since most spam had already been prevented by the article's protection status, this section was deemed unnecessary and quickly removed. Also, it slept on the most important marine biologist, the one from Ocarina of Time, so good riddance! In March of 2019, the protection status was removed. And then, the JoJo fans proved that they learned nothing and clashed with the editors again, resulting in the article getting protected for a final time. This time, the editors realized that if the article ever became open to the public again, JoJo fans would step in and start a massive edit war. So they said, fuck it, and set the protection status to indefinite. From then on, any incidents of Jotaro-related vandalism were few and far between. The very last incident was on September 27, 2020, nearly 2 years ago. The invading JoJo fans were finally defeated once and for all. This whole debacle would become a fun story passed around the JoJo fandom. JoJo fans relished in the idea of being the greatest threat to Wikipedia editors. However, that wasn't exactly the case. The prolonged conflict I talked about today was just one of many edit wars, and far from the most brutal one. Any JoJo fan who participated in this war learned a very valuable lesson. They weren't the story's protagonist. They weren't even its antagonist either. Instead, they were just yet another enemy stan user. So if you take away anything from this video, let it be these 5 words. Don't fuck with Wikipedia editors.